welcome to our webinar. This is Getting Started in FCS Express 7. I'm really excited to be hosting this webinar today. My name is Robin Kamucheka, and I'm a technical application specialist with Denovo Software. So just a few housekeeping rules to get started. If you have any questions, please feel free to enter them at any time into our questions box. We'd like to answer those as quickly as possible. My colleague, Kaya Ghosh, will be here, and she'll be answering those questions as we move through the webinar, and also I will try to demonstrate some things if you have some more detailed questions as we go along. So I'm going to get started with just a little bit of background information about Denovo Software. Our company has been providing analysis software for over 20 years. We have application specialists and distributors throughout the world, and our headquarters is located in Pasadena, California. Our customer service is exceptional, and we really want you to get the most out of your use of FCS Express. We usually respond to questions within a couple of hours when you write into support, and we're always willing to do one-on-one trainings and screen shares or group trainings just to make sure that you're getting the most out of your software. FCS Express can provide the tools you need to analyze your data. Today's webinar is really a great start to exploring some of these features and capabilities and see what FCS Express has to offer you. So starting with FCS Express 6, we started taking a different approach to analysis. We wanted our users to have the ability to do the standard analysis that we're so used to, creating those plots and introducing those gates, but we also wanted to give you the capability to get presentation and publication ready quality reports. So our solution was this fully integrated analysis software package. When I move a gate, everything is going to update downline in real time. And since then, since we've established this integrated software pack, which we've worked really hard to continue to make improvements, to listen to our users, and really introduce some of these new analysis tools and making the software easier to use. So let's go ahead and look at some of the topics we'll be covering today. So in today's webinar, we're going to be looking at the workspace interface. We're going to be inserting plots, going through the data list, gating in the gate view, checking out how to make overlays, introducing statistics, working with our spreadsheets, introducing some charts, going through batch processing, and saving a layout. Saving this layout is really the time saver. After we've created an analysis strategy, we can save this as a template, and then in the future, you just open up this template, introduce your new data, it saves you time, and it also gives you that reliable and reproducible results. And in case you guys haven't noticed yet, I'm presenting today from FCS Express. So let's get started in looking at what it would look like when I just opened a brand new layout. So when I'm opening FCS Express, the first window that pops up is this welcome screen. This welcome screen is actually a tool. It's just not hello, how you doing? But we have some recent news over there on the left-hand side. We have video guides, we have examples, we have tutorials. You can contact support, connect with our manual, and even look at some recorded webinars. Then we have this great update section. Make sure that you have the current version of our software installed. We are always introducing those new features and getting them out to you as soon as possible. So staying current can be really important. We have a new release coming soon, and I'm really excited about it. So make sure to check that box. Also on the right-hand side, we have what I call my access section, where you can open up a new layout. You can open an existing layout, or you can see some of the recent work that you've done. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize this. Now we're looking at this first workspace. We've got it open here. And it looks a lot like PowerPoint, Microsoft PowerPoint that is, and that is definitely by design. We know as anyone that has gone to classes that you have likely done something in PowerPoint. We wanted to give you an element of familiarity, even if you've never used our software before. And this is exactly what we've done here. So what we've done, we've organized the tabs and the tools very similar to what you would actually see in PowerPoint as well. So let's go over these tabs just a little bit. On the File tab, we have our traditional save, save as, open, close. We can export out if we want to export images or PowerPoint presentations, or maybe just a PDF of something. We also can open from, if we're importing from something that is compatible with FCS Express, we can bring in that workspace so you're not going to have to recreate what you've already started. We can look at recent documents. We can open up new layouts. We can look at the info of what's happening with our software, what our layout. We can also publish, and then we have our user options, which are super important because we have a bunch of them. We've really designed the software to make it as customizable and consistent with what works best for your workflow. On the Home tab here, we have our copy and paste, like the clipboard features. We can add pages or delete them. We have some font formatting capabilities here, and then also editing. So if you want to make sure your top of your plots are aligned and arranged properly, we have those tools right here for you. Then we go to our Insert tab. So a lot of these features we've seen in PowerPoint, the shapes, the text box, the picture. We've also incorporated our Flow Cytometry data analysis specific tools on here as well. So if ever you're looking to bring something in, Insert is a go-to tab. On our Design tab, we have our page setup. We can modify sizes, we can change orientation. I tend to like to work right to left, or left to right rather, so I always change mine to landscape. Additionally, we have some layout features. If you want to have that clean, really organized look to your layout, we have some templates to help get that started. On our gating tab, you'll find all of our gating tools. Our batch tab will help you batch process all your data and get those reports generated quickly. On our format tab, that's not quite active yet because we haven't brought anything in, we're able to do a ton of formatting. We can really customize the view of anything that you want in this layout. We give you a lot of tools to make the adjustments to make sure that this is really demonstrating and conveying the information that you want from your analysis. On our text tab, we have some elements to help with our text box and then just the text in general. Then on our data tab, we can look at what is some of the information that's contained within the data file itself by using our view header. And then we have our data list and some panels. On our tools tab, here's where you would find your compensation if you wanted to do any of our advanced transformations like Tisney or Spade, concentration calculators, calibration for your channels. We have a bunch of tools already here, fully integrated into the software so that you're not going to have to transfer back and forth between many different software platforms. We have quality controls. So if you want to introduce an SOP and have something that somebody has to follow in order to use this analysis, we can integrate that for you. And then our View tab gives you the ability to kind of look through this layout and make sure that everything has come together. You can look at multiple pages at the same time. Then we have navigators to really explore different elements of your analysis. So let's get started by just inserting a text box here. You just select the tool, drag and drop, and there it is. So I'm going to type in here, analysis strategy. And just to kind of go back to that formatting that we were talking about, when I go to that text tab, select this window, I can adjust the font. I can make it 18, I can change the color, I can make it bold, and I can make it underlined. Additionally, this is not a static element. I can move it anywhere I need to. So if I have it in the wrong position, I have it in the wrong size, all of this is fully formattable for me. Now I know text boxes are fun and all, but what we really want to do is get to those plots. So let's start inserting one now. I've gone to that Insert tab and I'm going to start introducing some of my plots. I'm going to start with a density plot here. Now when I pull this, I'm just going to draw it into my white space, however big or small I want it. And then I get a window and I get to select that data file, whatever data file I want to go in. And you can navigate to a folder also. I have set this up so it opens nicely. And I'm just going to grab that first data file here, open file, and you'll see that that is now populated with that specific data file. You can see by default it's landed here in the title. Now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to adjust these axes. So these are just our default axes. If you need to make adjustments, you can reach in through the drop-down menu and just grab one. Also, if you have 40 plus parameters, you don't have to dig through them all. You can start typing and it will parse down that list, and then you'll be able to select it quite easily. So we've got our first plot in here, and I want to show you a great thing that I love about FCS Express. I brought in one data file with that plot, and it automatically brought all the other data files for me. And this data list is not just like a static element, it's actually another tool. I can rearrange how these data files are listed. If I select a file here and move it up, I can move it down. I can search here. I can also, if I need, I don't need all these data files, maybe I just want to delete one, I can do that. Additionally, if I have a folder open and I just want to drag and drop something in, I can do that here. So I think 35 was the one that we deleted. So I'm just going to grab this, drag and drop. And now it's populated into that data list. So beyond that, moving my data files around and being able to shift and add data files quite easily, I can also just drag and drop. Drag it from the data list itself and introduce a plot. Now, any of those plot types that were on that Insert tab will be listed here. I can make one selection or I can make multiple selections depending on what it is that I want to do. For this particular plot, I'm just going to insert 1. And again, I see now that I have 2 different size plots, right? So what I can do, I can go back and select both of these. I can go to that Home tab, and I can make some adjustments to really clean up this layout to give me the look that I want. I'm going to align the widths here. I'm going to align the heights, and then I'm going to align the top as well, giving me just a really nice, clean presentation as I start working through my analysis. So for this plot, I'm going to use a CD4 and a CD8 just to get us started. And then another feature, another way we can introduce a plot is simply by duplicating. If I just want to duplicate a plot, that I can do as well. And it'll give me the same format, it'll be the same plot type. But don't worry, I'm not stuck here. I can change this plot type quite easily. I'm going to finish changing these parameters here. And then we're going to format this plot type. So it was great that we had this plot type for the first plot, but I really want to change it for this. So I'll go to my formatting tab here and just do a change plot type. So for this one, we're going to go ahead and do a contour plot. Now I know it's looking a little crazy, but don't worry. We're going to get through this. We're going to start adding some gates and start moving this data around here. So the first gate that we're going to introduce is our cells gate. So going from our gating tab, we're going to go ahead and grab this rectangular gate, and I'm going to draw it in right here. As I draw in this first gate, I get this window, my create new gate window. Here I can designate a name. So I can change the name to cells. I can also designate a color. If I want to change the color here, I can do that as well. So I am able to adjust this color just by using this drop-down menu here. Additionally, I can choose to include them or exclude them or emphasize them on a plot. So we're going to leave that gate red, click OK, and then you'll see I have this text dialog here, text box introduced with the name of the gate and the % of gated events. Now, once I have a gate, we do have some other ways that we can introduce plots. I can take this plot here and I can drag and drop it to create a new plot. Now I'm just looking at those gated cells alone. And for this particular plot, I'm going to change this parameter here to our CD3, and I'm going to introduce a new gate. On this one, I'm going to introduce a polygon gate. So our polygon gates are very versatile. You just need 3 data points to make a complete gate. Of course, you can add more as needed. So I'm just going to wrap around this population here at the bottom. If you're ever in a really densely populated plot, you can go ahead and just click the spacebar and it'll complete that gate for you. So if you can't find that initial point, it's okay. We have a tool to work around that. And for this this second gate, I'm going to name it lips and click OK. Now, a really great feature also, love our drag and drop in FCS Express, is that we can drag and drop these gates onto existing plots. As you can see, this plot in the middle here has already started updating with some of these gates that I'm creating. I've got this back gating already built in. So on my color dot plots, when I add gates, it will reflect those gates. So I'm just going to drag my lymphs gate here. Now this is not the only way that we can apply a gate here. If we want to apply a gate, we can also use our gating tab. Over here on the left-hand side, we can use this drop-down menu and we can apply a gate of our choosing. So for now, I'm just going to go ahead and apply our cells and see how that changes things. Now with this lymphs gate, I'm also going to drag it out and create a new plot. Then I'm going to format it to change it into a histogram. Now we have some other great tools in FCS Express outside from just our standard gates, and these are our markers and quadrants, but they're not quite the same as our gates. They're kind of special cases. So let's start working with our markers. I'm going to start marking our CD3 positive population. As you can see, I don't have a create gate window that has popped up. It's just a marker. This can be really useful if I'm exploring my data. I'm not really sure what I want to do with this. I'm not really sure if maybe that is a gate. I'm just kind of looking around. It's a tool to just give you some exploring capabilities without having to be committed to a gate. Sometimes having too many gates, your analysis can get a little overwhelming. So we've got this first gate. I'm going to also put in a marker for my CD3 negative population. Now, a wonderful feature that we have here is sometimes we want these ends of these markers to meet. So I want the high point of my CD3 negative to match with that low point of my CD3 positive. This is really simple to do, and I can even do this between plots if needed. I can grab this endpoint here. There we go. And I can drag it, and you can see I get this little plus sign. As soon as I see that, I can let go. That means that these are now linked. So if I grab this and start adjusting it, you'll see my second marker is going to respond to that adjustment because I've linked the ends together now. There we go. And like I just showed there, one of my favorite features, because I'm always going back and forth with things, are my undo buttons. If you make a mistake and it doesn't go well, a quick undo will bring you right back to where you were before the thing happened. So just a really nice feature in case something goes wrong. It happens to me often. Now, I did say that these markers are special cases, so I want to go ahead and just show a little bit more here. If I want these to be gates, I know I'm committed to the CD3 gates here, so I can right click and I can convert a marker to gate. I'm going to select marker 1 first, which is my CD3 positive, and I'm going to select convert and link. What does convert and link mean? It means if I come back and move this marker in any way, my gate will update with that marker movement. If I only convert, the gate will be created from where the marker was, but will not update when I move the marker. So it's really important. I tend to always use just the convert and link, so I know if I make any changes, it will be reflected in my analysis. So I'm going to go ahead and just change this color here, click OK. Then I'm also going to change and convert that other marker as well. And my window always pops up on that side. We'll do CD3 negative, and we'll give that a different color so that we can see some differentiation up there in that color dot plot above us. So now we can kind of see what's happening with our data above in that dot plot. It's a great time to introduce our gate view. Our gate view is a great tool. Again, it's just not a static element to tell me my hierarchy. I can expand a single gate at a time, or I can right click and expand them all. This is actually a functional tool. So if I need to apply something or move something, I can do this in real time without having to go back and recreate. If I found I put my CD3 gate in the wrong place, I can drag and drop it. It will be relocated in that hierarchy. And then if I find out that's not the right place that I want that to be located, I can undo that as well. I can also take a gate from here and drag and drop it and apply a gate. So it's very functional. It's not just a static element. If I want to make any modifications to this, I can double click or right click. I'm going to double click now, and we'll get a, see if it opens for me. There we go. We'll get an edit window where we can adjust names. We can change colors if we need to. We can change how things are included or excluded. And then also, if we right click and open up our gating properties, we can show that same thing. So again, this is really a functional tool and just part of making sure that you can get to the analysis that you want. So now we've got our markers onto our plot. Let's talk about quadrants. We've got some great plots above here that looks like we could use some quadrants here. I'm also going to drag this CD3 gate onto this plot here. See if that'll help us define it, and it did. So now we're going to go ahead and introduce some quadrants. So I go to my gating tab, I select my quadrant, and then just click where I want that middle vertices to fall. Again, for our standard quadrant, it's only going to move by this middle vertices, but we do have floating quadrants so that you can modify this and make it so each arm can be moved as well as the middle vertice independently. I'm going to add another quadrant here. Quadrants, like markers, are also not automatically gates. Again, this is just kind of useful in case you're doing immunophenotyping and I'm kind of drilling down and not sure what wants to be what, but I'm pretty sure that I didn't want to create 8 extra gates getting there. So this, again, just gives you that feature to really define how you want to gate and what do you want to create as a gate. So for converting our quadrants to gates, you're not limited to just the 4 quadrants themselves. You can actually do the upper, lower, left, and right as well. So it kind of gives, again, just introduces that flexibility, that user friendliness to make sure that the software is working as hard as you are to get this analysis completed. So I'm going to go ahead and do upper left, convert and link. Again, that convert and link is just going to, if I make any modifications to this quadrant placement, it's going to update that gate as well. We'll do this one blue. And then we are going to also convert the lower right. And that will be our CD8 gate. Oh, there we go. And we'll make that a nice lime green for just something different there. Again, our color dot plot has updated with that gating, as well as our gating hierarchy has been updated in our gate view as well. So these are just the standard features here that are readily usable to start getting you into your analysis, drilling you down to those populations of interest. So now I'm going to add a couple of elements here. We've seen all of our gates that we've adjusted. Now we're going to talk a little bit about formatting. I should mention right now, as you can see, when I grab this window, we do have the ability to dock these windows, so it doesn't take up your workspace in crazy ways, and you can actually even dock on top of already docked windows. So I'm going to go ahead and just dock that over there at the bottom of my format window, so that I have the flexibility to see that data list, but also have some room to work. So for this next part, I'm going to go ahead and just grab all of these plots. You can grab all these plots by dragging and dropping, doing a Control-All, or holding down the Control key while you're selecting these plots. For this instance, I'm going to change the title. I'm going to go ahead and insert the current gate. So then I know which gate is being displayed here on the plot. Let's see if that it updated in a really interesting place. So we're going to go ahead and undo that. I'm going to fix that placement and insert again so we can actually clearly see it. There we go. So now we can see that my first gate is generated from no gate. Then I have a CD3 positive population, a CD3 negative population, my cells gate, and then my histogram itself is from my lymphs gate. Additionally here, I see that my CD4 by CD8 plot, it looks a little difficult to designate or to differentiate some of these populations. If I come over here to my overlays tab, I can increase the size of these dots so that I can make this just a little more clearly visible. I can see these populations just that much better, make sure I can check down and look at these populations. It's really just a nice tool. Again, that is not the limitation. We have a ton of formatting tools. I won't be going into them all today, but I just wanted to kind of give you a quick overview on some of the great things that we can do. So now that we've got these current gate titles applied to our plots, I'd like to move into our statistics. And statistics are calculated from the cells that are currently displayed on the plot and according to that current gate. So if I pick a plot here and right click, I can introduce statistics. For this one, I have both the option to do quadrant statistics or gate statistics. I'm going to go ahead and just select my gate statistics. Here we'll find that we are these are our default statistics. And when I go over to format this in my format window that's kind of beat me to the punch here, we have some options. So we have gates to display. So if I don't want to show all of my gates, I can select only the gates checked below. You will always have the parent gate or the gate that's displayed on the plot, and that will appear as none. But then if I want to look at some additional populations, I can do so. I can choose what I would like to and not like to display. We'll go back to all gates. Now I can also go and choose what statistics are present. If I don't want to see which overlay it is, if I want to take out the geometric mean, but maybe I just want to look at the median, the X median, I can customize that. I can add all of these different statistics. I can make sure that I'm getting whatever statistical information I need present here on this statistical display. Now, as you can see that I don't have much information because I'm only looking at that CD3 negative gate. So if I roll back to that gates to display, I can do only the gates here and just check that one gate. And that will be consistent with that top tier because that is the only plot or the only population that's being displayed. Also, with my histogram, I can show those same statistics for a histogram with my histogram statistics here. Here you can see, I can see my high bound, low bound, number of events. And this is for each marker here. So I have the high bound or the marker 1 on the top, and then marker 2 is designated here. And just like we saw with the other default statistic table box, we can customize this as well. If I wanted to do one thing at a time, I can just add one element. So that looks good, but now I want somebody to know what that marker order is without me having to tell them. I can go ahead and add that. But here in FCS Express, this isn't the limit of our statistical analysis abilities. I can also introduce a spreadsheet. So if I want to do some more advanced statistical analysis, I can just go ahead and introduce that by going to my Insert tab and clicking on a spreadsheet. So you'll get this first window when you're creating this new spreadsheet where I'm given an option to pick a name. I'm just going to do stats for our presentation here and click OK. Now with this, it works just like a regular text box, like spreadsheet like you would see in Excel. I can go ahead and just start typing in here if that's what I need to do. Also, drag and drop again, coming back around to that. I can drag and drop, if I can get file name, there we go. I can drag and drop a whole plot in here. So I'm going to grab this here, drag it in. When you see that plus icon, you know again that you have landed in the cell. So I can let go and then I get this window. So in this window, we have statistic token and keyword token. Now, token is really just our cool word for how we say piece of data. So a statistic token is really related to something that's happening in the layout, and our keyword token is something that's coming from the data files themselves. We're able to pull out some of your information that you have acquired with your acquisition, and we can pull out elements like that if you wanted to know, time of collection or things like that. That is all available to pull out in FCS Express. For this presentation, we're going to go ahead and just use a statistic token. Now, when I click on that, I'm invited to this window here. The data source is going to be the plot that's selected over in that corner. You see it's highlighted here, and then you see this nice little figure here in the corner. Now on the statistic tab, I'm invited to either select a gate or any other statistic. For this instance, I'm just going to use file name and click OK. And then that will be populated into my spreadsheet. If I need to adjust this cell, a double click will get you there and expand it out. Very similar to what you would find in Excel. So then, I've got my first file name. I'm going to start adding some elements here. I'm going to go ahead and drag over my cells gate. And for this, it's already automatically selected the cells gate for me. I'm going to do number of events and % of all cells and click OK. And when I do, it kind of populated a little bit down. I should have dragged it up one, but that's okay. If you find that happens to you, we can right click, cut, right click, paste, and everything is restored. It's in the right positions now. I'm also going to just go ahead and drag our lymph gate here and do number of events. And so it's important to note if you see the difference here of what's happened. When I drag one statistic at a time, I'm not going to get that top identifier, but if I drag in multiple statistics, I will get those column identifiers to know what I'm dragging in here. Oh, did not paste. Let me go ahead and fix that. Just re-drag and drop. I'll do number of events. There we go. Text type in rather. Lymphs, number of events. And that's not all we can do. I'm going to introduce just a couple more things here so that we can look at a ratio between our CD4 and CD8 events. So let me just double click here to spread that out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drag in this whole plot here. I'm going to grab a statistic token, and then I'm just going to grab CD4, CD8, number of events. So if you want to multi-select, you can use Control and select as many or as few gates as you want. Also, because I'm working with a quadrant, if I didn't want to select these gates, but I just wanted to do upper left, lower right, I could select those from the top as well. And I'm going to click OK. So now this is updated. So looking at some more of those advanced statistical features here, I'm going to add in a ratio column. And I'm just going to start building a formula just like I would if I were using any other spreadsheet. Equal sign, CD4 divided by CD8, and enter. Once I have that introduced, I can still use the same features and drag that down to as many columns, or as many rows as needed. I'm going to undo that. Now I know you're saying, this is great, Robin. I see that if I move a gate, everything is going to update with me. See? There we go. It will update with me. All the plots are updating, and that's really fantastic. But what if I want to look at more than just one data file? Well, this is great. So if you wanted to just look at elements per each data file, we can click to a new iteration. We can do that by moving to the next data file by using this double arrow here at the top. Or we can also click on these little blue iteration numbers here. So if I want to move to the second one, click number 2, and it will update. As you can see, all parts updated, including the spreadsheet. So that can be great, but what if I want more? What if I want to make sure that everything is coming in? I want to do a summary table here. That's also an option. I'm going to go ahead and just delete this out. And from this data list, I'm going to go ahead and select these data files. I'm just going to select the first 5 here. And again, using this data list as a tool is one of the features here that is really great in FCS Express. Drag and drop, and I can just populate these same things. I'm going to start at A2 here, so I can bring in some of these file names. Again, we'll do a statistic token here. Now, what's important if I'm going to do a summary table? With our spreadsheets, we need to click on this data source, and we want to unclick this box to allow the data from moving to the next batch. What this is it makes it a 1-element item, and it will be our summary table including all these files, but it won't move to the next data files. It'll be a kind of a static element at that point. So I'm going to go to the statistic, and I'm going to go ahead and grab file name, and it doesn't matter which parameter I select, so side scatter will be fine. And it will update with those 5 different data file names. We'll do file name here. And then if I want to re-grab those same data files, I can bring them back here, and I can introduce many more statistics. Again, if I want to introduce some gates, I can select multiple gates here. I can do number of events. Oops. Go, and percent of all cells. And we'll introduce that to our spreadsheet. Oops, correct that. There we go. And that will update in my spreadsheet here in just a moment. So when this updates in my spreadsheet, it becomes another element that can be completely functional and useful in my analysis. So from this point, now that I've got my spreadsheet established, I can start introducing some charts. Now, my layout has gotten a little crowded, so I'm going to create some space here by cutting out my spreadsheet, creating a new page. We can create a new page there at the bottom by clicking on the new page, or we can also click on our home tab to add new pages. So once I've created a new page, I had cut that spreadsheet, so I'm going to go ahead and paste it here so that we have a nice space here. We can see what's going on. And now I'm going to look at my formatting tab. In my formatting tab under spreadsheet data, I'm going to check this box to use values in first row as labels. It just cuts out that step so I'm not having to worry about what is being labeled on my axis. Anything that's being shown in this first row will now be a label in my chart. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to that Insert tab, and now I'm just going to introduce a bar chart here. Now, it has kind of just selected some default parameters. I'm starting with file name. You can see some of the file names listed here. They're kind of condensed here, and that's why they're kind of stacking up, and you're only seeing 2, but all of our files are being shown is by the number of columns here. And then we have the number of events for our cells that is being shown as our other parameter. So here we go. We've got now introduced this bar chart. And so really, FCS Express has really been designed to make sure that you can optimize your analysis and get as much done as you can in the software itself. So we've done a lot of work creating these elements. I'm going to format this a little bit because why not? It's fun. I'm going to add some colors here. We're going to go to, let's go to our overlays. I'm going to actually close out this data list so I have a little more space to look. I'm going to change our bar option. So in case you're not interested in having a rectangle, you want to do something a little more fun, we're going to add some pyramids here. We're going to change the color just to spruce it up a little bit. And then we can also add error bars and all different features. We make sure that you're able to have this chart really convey the essence of your analysis. So that was just a fun element to add. We're going to go back to that page, that first page here. We've set up all of this data analysis. I'm going to bring back our data list. Our data list, again, is a pretty important tool. So you see here that I've got something going on. When I have these in blue, that means they're active. When they're grayed out, it means that something has been deactivated. And what happened there is when I created that spreadsheet on the other page, I forgot to select that data source button again to make sure that it didn't batch between the next files. So there's 2 things that I can do here. I'm going to go ahead and just fix it really quick because I think this is great time to learn. This happens quite often. So addressing it on the spot will be pretty useful. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clear out the elements that I added with that second drag and drop. And that's pretty excessive there, but we'll just delete that. Give it a moment to catch up with my speediness there. And then as you can see, I've moved to this double view so that I can pull those same statistics without having to move this spreadsheet back to the other view. So I'm going to pull from the data list itself here. So I'm going to grab those first 5 files, drag them back into my spreadsheet, statistic token, go to the data source tab, uncheck that box, select statistic. I'm going to grab a few gates again, or a few gates, and do number of events and percent of all cells and click OK. All right, it will take a moment for my spreadsheet to be repopulated there. And then now when we look at our data list that just disappeared on me, there it is. You see all of our iterations are active. Now, why I'm covering this in such depth right now is because one of our few last steps here that we have to go through is batch processing. I'm also going to reintroduce that chart right there. And with our batch processing, what we're really trying to do is create this data analysis strategy. That's step 1. Step 2 is going to our batch tab and starting to define what it is that we want to batch out. So you have many different options. You can print, you can save the layout, you can save to a PowerPoint or a PDF, you can save as pictures, and you can export out to an Excel or a Word report. You have all of these different options. For today, we're just going to save to a PowerPoint. When I do that, I have this master list that gives me some options, and I can define if I want to open this after presentation. I always like to look at what's happening afterwards. You can change the quality, you can change the mode. If you like to see things tiled and side by side, we can do a custom grid to kind of give you that look where you can do side by side comparisons of a specific plot. I'm going to say that I only want a single page. I just want my first page to be exported out as a PowerPoint. I'm going to save all of my iterations into the same presentation, so I'm not going to be making multiple files, and I'm not going to add on to anything that's already existing. I'm going to create something new. So when I do that, I click on this little folder icon to designate where it's going to go, and I'm just going to put getting started here and click OK. Then once that's updated, I can click OK and this will close, and you can see it's now updated in my batch processing. I'm also going to add an Excel sheet because these are also features that are really important and people use quite frequently. In here, we have some options. Oops, let me correct some of these things first. So we're going to start with an empty file. So first, we're going to need to designate where it's going. And we'll call this getting started as well. Save. Now I've got a location. I'm going to create an output folder. Or I wanted to, oops, don't want to do that. I want to open after saving. And then we have some options. So once we've designated where we want this to go, if we wanted to have our data import to start at a specific row or in a column, we have some functionality here so that we can really customize this export for you. Now, I'm going to click OK, and you see that it's now up here on my batch process actions. The thing here is that this is an empty spreadsheet until I start populating it with some statistics. Now, just like anything else, FCS Express allows you a lot of drag and drop. So I'm going to move to one page here just to get us using some of these plots that we've already established and drag this over so it's a little more visually friendly here. There we go. Actually just going to stack it right there so we can see what's happening. And then I'm going to grab a plot. And again, just dragging and dropping. As soon as I land on there, I get the plus sign. Then I get that, that window where I can define which token it is that I want to use. I'm just going to add some simple statistics here just to make it quick and easy. Do number of events. We'll do percent of gated and percent of all cells and click OK. And again, now you see in my batch actions windows, which I'm just going to drag back out. If you have it docked somewhere and you needed to bring it back to interview, that's how you do it. Just grab it by that title bar there. And now you can see the statistics that are here. So this is a great feature. We've built something now. This is saved with the layout. I don't have to come back and rebuild this. If there is something that I don't want to import or don't want to report out next time, I can simply uncheck, can do the whole thing, or for our Excel sheet, I can do individual stats if I'm not interested in exporting those out. So once I've built that, I always check in with my batch options. I love these guys. My favorite is pause between iterations. It gives me that check down. I can go ahead and look as it's going through each data file and running it through that data analysis can give you that visual check. Am I seeing that all the gates are in the right place? But not only that, we can change how many iterations that we're going to run. If we don't want to export all of this out, some of this was just FMOs or things to help us get our gating strategy down, we can change how many iterations are batched out. We can designate that here. We can also change the increment value. If I don't want every file, but I want every third file, I can adjust that here. This is that unconditionally pause between iterations. I'm going to go ahead and check that and then click OK. Now our last step in our batch process is really just to hit run. Once I hit run, it's going to start creating those elements. So now I use that pause feature. So right now you see everything has just stopped. And what that has done is given me the opportunity to make any adjustments that I need. If I need to change a gate, move a marker, it gives me that flexibility. I have as much time as I need. I can make those adjustments, and then whenever I'm ready, I can hit continue. If I don't need to make any more adjustments, I can also just run to end. I'm going to go ahead and just run it to the end. And so it's processing through all of these different data files and making these reports. So I'm going to have a nice PowerPoint and Excel with those defined statistics available for me as soon as this processing feature finishes, which is great, right? It gives me that reproducibility, the reliability. I know my gating strategy has been used across all of these different data samples. I just went through 8 data files relatively quickly. I've got it all exported out here now. So our PowerPoint is the first thing that opened. We've got these great high resolution graphics here. Then my Excel sheet wants to be seen too. Let me minimize that for a moment. We have this great PowerPoint created for us, right? We have each data file. So if I move down, I can switch between the data files and see what is different, what has changed between each data file. Let's go ahead and open that Excel file back up. All those elements that we had exported are now here listed in Excel. So if we wanted to do anything else, anything additional in our Excel sheet, we could just pick up from where we left off from that export. I should mention that our spreadsheet itself, you can export that from the tab. So, and what I mean from the tab is when you have this spreadsheet, we get 2 additional tabs here. We get a layout tab that gives you some conditional formatting, some formatting fun stuff to look at. And then we also have our formulas tools, gives you the functionality and give you those formulas to really do that advanced statistical analysis. So now we've done all this, we've batched out our stuff. The next thing is to conserve all of our work. We've worked really hard at getting this analysis. So what we're gonna do is just go over to our File tab, click on Save As. Now when this window opens, and it opens in a really weird spot, I'm sorry, let me drag this window over. All right, so when I have this window and I'm getting ready to save, I have 3 different options here. I can save with linked data, I can save with embedded data, or I can save unlinked. And there's a little bit of difference between all 3. So the linked means that my software knows where to go to find my data files. With embedded data, that means that any files that are being shown on my layout at the time of the save will be saved with that layout. The key note there, it is any files that are being shown on the layout. So if there are additional files in that data list but aren't being used, they're not going to be embedded with that layout file. And then our last one is unlinked data. This is our template. This is what it looks like when we want to create this as a template. So this is how I'm going to save that for this particular example. I'm going to do template, click save. And then I'm going to go ahead and just close this out. Go to my File tab on my other workspace that was open. Click on Open. I'm going to navigate back to that Getting Started template here and open that just so you have an idea what this is going to look like if you save something as a template. Because the first time could be a little jolting. When it opens up, it's not going to have any of those plots filled. So you're going to see a lot of errors. You can think, oh my God, something is wrong with this layout. Really, it's all okay. Nothing is wrong. All we need to do is introduce some data. So this is just a reminder, hey, I need you to bring some data files in. So what we're going to do is we're just going to open up that data list. I'm going to add some data files here. You can select them all, click Open File. And now you see that I have them in my data list, but they haven't populated those plots. So what I can do is just double click, and then I can change base overlay on all objects to selected file. And so that file will be populated on all of these plots, and it'll bring in all of that data here on that presentation. So that brings me to the end of what I have for you guys today. I appreciate your attention. I see that we have a lot of questions and things in our chat box. So please, at this time, if you have any questions, go ahead and get those in. If we have something I need to demonstrate, I'll go ahead and get that demonstrated for you as well. So one of the questions that has come up is if this presentation will be available later. Yes, this is being recorded. We will have this available on our website as well as our YouTube channel. So don't worry if you missed anything. I know this has a lot of information. There's a lot of content here. So we will have this recording available later. Oh, yes, the overlay. Thank you so much. I did forget to do that, didn't I? Thank you very much. So let's go back and look at our overlays. So we have this histogram here. If I want to look at a multiple different files, really easily to do, I can grab some of these files from the data list. Let me grab some different files here. Let me undo that. I think I switched the order there. Grab some of these data files, drag them over to the plot that I want to add some overlays, and let go. So then I get this window that says add the files to the plot as new overlays. Click OK. And once I do, you're going to see these are now updated as well as our default statistics table down here with all of that information from those plots. Now it's a little overwhelming, so we do have some options here to kind of make some adjustments. If we want to do some smoothing, we can go to overlays in our format window and make some adjustments to make some smoothing. As you can see, I'm only doing one file at a time, but I have 5 different files. So I can select all of them and make the adjustments for each, for all of these files collectively. So I can kind of change how that looks. I can also fill these if I want to fill these in. Now I can't really see what's behind them, so I'm going to change the transparency. These again is just kind of some of the formatting capabilities. And even then, if this is not just giving me the information or doesn't display the information the way that I'd like to, I can change how it's being displayed altogether and go to a stacked mode. And in the stacked mode, it's going to separate them out a little bit better. So now I can see each population individually on its own little part of this histogram. So I hope that helped. So I see one of our users has put into the chat box that I have some problems to create PDF or PowerPoint with batch action, and I don't understand the problems. One of the most common problem I will tell you is these iterations. So again, because I just kind of re-imported this data and our spreadsheet was a one-off element, you can see here, and then I haven't changed my overlays also, you can see that I've deactivated some of these iterations. And once they're deactivated, it won't run through the batch processing. So if I had 2 blue and the rest gray, I would only get 2 iterations from here. Also, whenever you start a batch process, make sure that you're on the first iteration so that it can run through all of those other iterations. Those are 2 of the most common things that I see. Oh, yes. So how to calculate the MFI. So MFI can be pretty subjective. We can use the mean, we can use the arithmetic or geometric mean or the median, depends on what is best for your analysis. In our default statistics, we do have those options to introduce those just by default. So either right-clicking on a default statistic table that's already there, or also whenever we pull a gate or a table or a gate or a plot rather into a spreadsheet, we can select that statistic too. When we're doing that into a spreadsheet type scenario, we will need to make sure that we are grabbing the parameter of interest. So before I was just using side scatter because my statistics were not dependent on information from a specific parameter. But if you are using like a mean or a median, it will be important to make sure that you select the appropriate parameter to derive that information. Okay, so I have another question here. Trying to expand it a little, it's so tiny. Okay, can I include concentration values on either axis while doing antibiotic titration and get a fluorescence versus concentration plot? So we can also, yes, we can do that in FCS Express. We have a great titration webinar that is a little more advanced than what I can show you in, in enough detailed to really describe the process here, but if you would like, we can definitely connect with you outside of this webinar and schedule a one-on-one training and get that, help you develop that fluorescence and concentration plot. I see a user has said we are making our decision between two different softwares. Our manual is available to you on the website, so in case you were interested in looking at our manual. Also, we do have our 30-day free demo. So if you're not sure about the software, you want to kind of test it out, please feel free to go to denovosoftware.com, download that demo, check it out, vet it, make sure that it's giving you what you need for your analysis. If you have any questions and you need us, reach out to support. We'll connect with you to get you started, give you one-on-one training. We can even customize it to work with your own data to help get you started. In one of my profile acquired in SciTech, I can't see all the parameter levels in FCS Express 7, but I got it in FCS Express 4. So I think what may have happened there, we do have a user setting that may delete parameters after unmixing has been done. I'm not sure your exact situation, but I would be happy to connect with you outside of the webinar so that we can make sure that that gets resolved and that you're able to see all of your different parameters. Okay, so we have an additional question here. I made one gate position for CD4 positive on the first 3 samples and a different position of this gate on CD4 on sample 4. Great, thank you so much for bringing me back to that because I did also skip right on by that. In our software, we do understand that sometimes you're going to have that, finicky sample where something is just a little weird and you're going to have to modify a gate. All of our gates are universal unless you go to our gating tab and select the gate and click on data specific. You can also use the shift key when selecting the gate to do the data specific gate. I'm very visual, so I like to see that this is highlighted. When you see that gray box around your data specific gate, you know that it's only going to apply for this data file. So I'm going to go ahead and move it just somewhere weird so that we can see the difference here. When I move to that second iteration, you'll see that it'll pop back to that original location, and it's only going to hold that odd placement for that first data file. Great question. Thank you so much for asking that. I'm so glad that you guys were able to join me today. If you have any last minute questions, please feel free to go ahead and ask them. It's been such a great, wonderful, interactive group today. I'm so grateful that you guys were here to join me. I hope that I've got you feeling a little familiar with FCS Express, and I hope to hear from you soon so we can help you with support and get you the analysis you need. All right, we've reached the other top of the hour. So if you have any last minute questions, please go ahead and get them in the chat box and we will reach out to you after our webinar. Again, thank you so much for joining me. If you haven't done so already, the software is available at denovosoftware.com for a 30-day free trial to make sure that it meets your analysis needs. And if you need to reach us with any questions, please feel free to reach out at any time at support@denovosoftware.com.